So June 29th, 2026. Four-time champions Germany are out of the World Cup, and this one's going to get replayed for years. They didn't stumble out of the group stage. They didn't run into a side that was simply better than them on paper. They lost a round of 32 penalty shootout to Paraguay, a team that had never beaten Germany at a World Cup, not once in tournament history. 4-3 on penalties after 120 minutes that ended 1-1 at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. Forget the shock result headlines for a second, because if you actually walk through how this game unfolded, minute by minute, decision by decision, there's something uglier going on underneath it than one bad night. There's a pattern here, one that's been building inside German football for the better part of a decade, and on June 29th, it finally caught up with them. Here's how it played out. Paraguay, a team set up almost entirely to defend deep and counter, took the lead right at the end of the first half. Julio Enciso rose above his marker and headed in a cross from Matias Galarza, and Germany went into the locker room behind against a team they were supposed to handle without much trouble. 8 minutes into the second half, Kai Havertz equalized, another header, this one off a Florian Wirtz cross, and for a long stretch after that, Germany did what Germany has always done in these games. They had the ball. They kept coming forward. They created chance after chance, working it wide, working it through the middle, testing Orlando Gil from every angle they could find. Then in extra time, Jonathan Tah rose at a corner and put it in the net, and the whole stadium thought it was over. Players sprinting to the corner flag, the bench emptying, that kind of moment. Then VAR pulled it back for a foul on the Paraguayan keeper in the build-up. No goal. Extra time finishes 1-1. Penalties. This is where it stops being about the football and starts being about something a lot harder to coach away. Havertz, fresh off helping Arsenal end a 22-year wait for the Premier League title, steps up to take Germany's first kick. Misses it. Orlando Gil, who'd already had a strong game in goal, guessed the right way and got down to it. From that point on, Germany were chasing the shootout instead of running it. Neuer kept them alive with a save of his own. They leveled it back up more than once as the kicks went back and forth, but a late German miss opened the door and Paraguay walked through. 4-3. Germany's first ever World Cup shootout loss. Let that land for a second. A country whose entire footballing reputation was built partly on the idea that penalties were the one place German teams didn't lose, just lost one for the first time ever on the biggest stage there is. Most of the recap videos are going to skip straight past the why and just run the highlights with sad music underneath. I want to actually sit with the why for a bit, because there are 3 explanations going around right now, and I want to work through all 3 honestly before telling you which one I actually believe. First theory, this was just penalty variance, plain and simple. People like this explanation because it's clean and it lets everyone move on. Penalties are a coin flip, the story goes, 11 meters of pure randomness, and any team can lose one to any other team on any given night, regardless of quality. There's real support for it too. Germany did dominate large stretches of the run of play. They did have a legitimate-looking goal taken off the board for a marginal call that could have gone either way on a different referee's read. If that goal stands, none of this conversation happens, and Germany is sitting comfortably in the round of 16 right now, talking about their next opponent. So this theory isn't nothing, but it doesn't explain everything that happened on that field. Second theory. There's a deeper, structural problem in how Germany handles knockout football, and it goes back a lot further than one night in Massachusetts. Walk the history back. They went out in the group stage as defending champions in 2018, the first time that had happened to them since 1938. Group stage again in 2022, no better than the first time. Now, in 2026, under a format specifically expanded to make early exits harder to pull off, they make it one round further and still go out before the round of 16. 3 tournaments in a row without reaching a quarterfinal. 0 appearances anywhere near the business end of a World Cup since they actually won the thing in 2014. That's not random. Under this red, Havertz missing that kick isn't an isolated bad moment that happened to a good player. It's a symptom of a team that lost whatever the old golden generation knew instinctively about closing out the biggest games and hasn't relearned it with the new one yet. Third theory, and I think this one gets ignored the most, even though it might matter the most. This was a coaching and squad management problem specific to this one match, not some grand national identity crisis. Nagelsmann's team never really broke Paraguay down, not in any sustained way, even with Havertz, Wirtz, Musiala, and Kimmich all out there on the pitch at the same time. A team with that much individual quality probably should have been 2 goals up before the match ever got anywhere near penalties. Under this version, the issue isn't Germany's psyche or some inherited curse. It's one specific tactical setup on one specific night that let a well-drilled, well-coached underdog hang around far longer than their overall level should have allowed, and turned an easy German win into a coin flip they never should have needed. So which one's actually right? I'd say it's mostly the second, with the third acting as the spark that set it off, and the first doing a small amount of mitigating work around the edges. Here's my reasoning. If this were pure randomness, you wouldn't see the same pattern of falling apart in big moments showing up across 3 straight tournaments. Random luck doesn't repeat itself with that kind of consistency, not 3 times running. And if it were purely about one bad tactical matchup against one well-organized opponent, you wouldn't see this same trend stretching all the way back to 2018, well before Nagelsmann was even involved. What you're actually watching is a roster full of individually excellent players who, as a collective unit, still haven't relearned how to handle a knockout game the way the 2014 squad had it completely down cold. The disallowed goal and the missed penalty aren't the disease itself. They're just the moment where the disease finally became visible to everyone watching. Now, I want to make the strongest possible case against my own read here, because I never want you to just sit here nodding along with whatever I say. Knockout football at a World Cup is inherently small sample chaos. One marginal VAR call, one goalkeeper having the game of his life, one missed penalty from a guy who's converted plenty of pressure kicks across a long career. Those are exactly the kinds of things that decide a single match, not a generation of football. Paraguay played a genuinely brilliant defensive game and pulled off one of the great World Cup upsets in the competition's history, full stop, and reducing their achievement down to a story about Germany's psychological baggage is honestly a little unfair to what they actually did out there on the pitch. That argument holds up. Honestly, if the TA goal stands on another night with a slightly different camera angle, we're probably not even having this conversation right now. But here's what that argument still can't get around. If this truly was just one unlucky night, why does it slot in so cleanly with a run that started back in 2018? 3 tournaments, 3 early exits, and the common thread running through all of them isn't bad luck showing up 3 separate times, completely at random. It's a team that keeps arriving at the moment that matters most and finding some new way to not quite be ready for it. A few things worth keeping an eye on from here. Whether Nagelsmann keeps his job in the coming weeks, and whether the Federation frames this publicly as a one-off coaching failure or something bigger they actually need to rebuild. Whether German football media spends real time talking about rebuilding a knockout culture from the ground up, or whether they just default to blaming the VR call and the shootout and move on like nothing's changed. And how far Paraguay's run actually goes from here. Because the deeper they advance, the harder it becomes to even call this an upset anymore, and the more it starts looking like Germany simply lost to a team that handled the biggest moment of the night better than they did. 3 straight World Cups now without reaching a quarterfinal, in a sport where Germany used to be the standard every other country measured itself against. If it's clearly not a talent problem, and looking at that lineup, it's hard to argue it is, at what point does a country with this much footballing history and infrastructure stop calling this bad luck and start calling it what it actually might be?